Hi, welcome to another video. So for today's video, I thought I should talk a little more about teaching in NZ and looking at the comments that I received last time, and of course a couple of DMs as well. I think today would be a good day to talk about what is the life of a teacher in NZ, specifically in the early childhood education sector, like what is their day-to-day activity in the classroom look like. So completely based on my experience of 4 years, I've in totality worked in about one, two, three, four, five, six, like seven schools, and three of which were, of course, the ones that I worked at during my study time for my placement and internship, and the other four are the ones that I actually worked at after I graduated from my diploma degree. So basically what happens is, if you are working as a teacher in a daycare, in a preschool, so what happens is that there's a shift. So in a day you would generally, as a practice, never be asked to work beyond 8 hours. So if you have a lunch break, then that is obviously outside of those 8 hours. So a 1 hour lunch break would make it 9 hours a day. So that is pretty much what your day shift would look like. And if it is like a full day school that runs from, say, 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening, then you will obviously be given shifts. So this shift pattern actually is different for every school, and from what I've also seen, that हर जगह सेम चीज़ नहीं होती है. हर जगह अलग अलग पैटर्न्स होते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ. कहीं पे आपको फिक्स शिफ्ट दे देंगे. अगर आप 8 से 5 कर रहे हैं तो 8 से 5 ही आप कर सकते हैं, या कहीं कहीं पे रोटेट करते हैं वो लोग शिफ्ट. तो फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल आज एक टीचर 8 से 5 कर रही है तो कल वो से 7 to 4 करेगी. सो समथिंग along those lines is what the shift or the hours looks like. And apart from this, moving on to what is the day-to-day activity, now I'll talk about two things. So one is the morning shift, which is when you do the opening, and one is the end of the day or closing shift, when you basically lock up the center and then go out. So what happens is, in a morning shift, is you basically will be there with other teachers, because every classroom has one opening shift teacher. So of course you will be there. You're supposed to like unlock the school building, so right from the security gate to the backdoor entrances and stuff like that, you're supposed to do checks. So there's a list of morning checklist of what you're supposed to do. So you're supposed to check different things. Like mere case mein, from what I can recall, we did check if everything was in place in, of course, the classroom, like whatever you needed for the day. Especially if you're working with the baby room, we had a lot of laundry that needed to be taken care of, so we had to make sure everything was in place. Is the hot water coming in? Are there enough wipes, wet wipes? Are there enough paper towels? Then of course you would go and see the kitchen. Is everything safe and set in the kitchen? You would go and open the particular areas of ventilation. You would go and check the fire exits are working and they are in the position of being used. And so pretty much these were the morning list checks, after which your students would start coming in, the children would start coming in. So for example, your school starts at 7:15, then you would typically come in at 7 o'clock to open the building and do all these checks. And after that, when the parents start coming in, वो अपने बच्चों को ड्रॉप ऑफ करके जाते. तो सुबह में जनरली क्वाइट ही होता है, unless you're having a very busy day where you're expecting a lot of children. But it's generally like you'll have those 2-3 children come in. When you're also setting up the classroom, you would welcome them and of course have a little chit chat with the parents and go about the day. Then there is also an entire list. If I'm talking specifically in context of a baby room, there is too much responsibility you have. In that room, I would say, like, while the parents are dropping off and you're saying your hellos, you're also preparing for different meal time. So since in the baby room they need to be given bottles and feeds at different hours as well, so you need to kind of prepare things accordingly. So yeah, you would check the sleep room and all of this, and after that pretty much the children would get dropped off, and the first like meal of the day, which is called kai in Maori, Tereo Maori. So you would have your kai, which is basically morning tea. So some light snacks. You would lay out the tables for that, and uh, generally most children would get dropped off at 9 o'clock. So at 9:30 is when you have your kai, and you do a little prayer. Sit down with all the children. You serve them food, and pretty much after the food is done, you of course have to do some cleanup because they are kids. So you don't have the facility of केयर टेकर्स. जैसे इंडिया स्कूल में मैं देखती हूँ यहाँ पे केयर टेकर्स होती हैं या असिस्टेंट टीचर्स होती हैं who take care of all of this. But no, in New Zealand, you're the teacher. You're doing absolutely everything in terms of teaching, caregiving and planning and learning and all of that. And उसके बाद से जो भी आपने फर्स्ट राउंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज सेट की होती हैं दिन के लिए, सो यू वुड टेक केयर ऑफ दैट. सो for example, generally you would set up, like, say, a painting activity, an inside activity, so maybe 2-3 activities inside. Then there would be the open area. Generally all preschools had an open area. It was also a compulsion. So you would set up that, and children could go and play outside. You could on a particular day have different duties. So from what I have experienced is every classroom had outside, inside, bathroom support duties, sleep room duties if you were in the baby and toddler room, and also there was like somebody who would help with in general main inside room duties. So there were duties divided, and generally the rosters used to shift, but sometimes the rosters used to also not shift, and that was really painful. मैं जनरली प्रेफर नहीं करूँगी उस स्कूल में जाना जहाँ पे ड्यूटीज़ रोटेट ना होती हों. सबको सब कुछ आना चाहिए, and it gets very boring to do the same thing every single day of your life. Anyways, so once you set up the first round of those activities, children go, they play outside, they interact. You also start, if you're in the baby room, you also start working towards getting some children ready for bed or nap time. And depending on what the routines are looking for those under twos, you would take care of that. You would also start helping children with nappies, depending if you are on the nappy or bathroom assistance duty for the day. So you would get them, you would change them. Post that, around 11:30-12 is when you have your lunch. Now lunch is more like, for some older children, you would take them to a proper lunch area. You would set up the tables and stuff. For some children, you would probably just have it say in the classroom. So it depends what the infrastructure is in your preschool. And lunch करने के बाद ऐसा हो सकता है कि अगर आप टॉडलर रूम में हैं या ऐसे रूम में हैं जहाँ एज ग्रुप में, जहाँ पे सारे बच्चे साथ में अगर सोने जाते हैं, so you would start preparing your beds and cots accordingly in the classroom after the lunch. And if you are on the sleep room duty with babies, and it's an ongoing thing, but generally post lunch is when maximum children would go to sleep. Putting children to sleep is a mammoth task, and it's definitely not easy. As much as people would look at it and go like, oh, it's so easy to be a baby's teacher, it's not. So yeah, that is what happens. You would again, check the children's nappies, if they are good to go. If the children are toilet training, then you'll obviously put in reminders that you need to go use the bathroom. And yeah, after that, some children would probably need to be changed into their sleep time clothes. So some may like require a sleep sack, or maybe something else that their parents have provided. And post that, pretty much is once the children go to sleep, it's really quiet. So you would probably have like one activity set probably in the classroom, depending on who is awake. And from then on till say 2:33, your children keep waking up. And that's when it's time for afternoon tea, which is again light snacks. And you sit down, have the snacks depending on who's woken up, if you're in the baby room. But if you're in like a proper toddler or older age room where children are not sleeping, or children are going to sleep all at once at one time, then everybody sits down together to have the afternoon tea. Then there is the second half, basically, where you set up the activities, and children interact. They go outside, you open the outside area, they play there. And you again do your rounds of checks for if there's a wet nappy or somebody needs a change. Once around, I would say 3:34 is when parents generally start coming in to pick up their children and going. And yeah, between that, basically, you're not really staying till 6 o'clock, but whatever's your shift. So for example, if I start at 8, तो मैंने 8 बजे काम शुरू किया, तो between that 8 to 5, which is my actual shift, I would do whatever duties are assigned to me for the day, and I would get like a 1 hour lunch break. And that's pretty much it. So maybe a lunch break at 12:30, or maybe at 1 o'clock, depends, it's different. So it's something more like a team thing, that you decide what time people are going to go in lunch. But generally ऐसा होता है कि जो सबसे पहले आता है, जो ओपनिंग शिफ्ट में होता है, उनका लंच सबसे पहले होता है. So now that the school is almost packing up, say it's 5:30, 5:45, you're just waiting for the last one or two children to go, or everybody has even gone, दूसरे क्लासरूम के बच्चे हैं. सो what generally happens is that all the closing teachers, they leave together, and all the opening teachers, they generally are expected to be there on the same time. So with closing time, again, you have several other responsibilities to make sure your doors are locked, your windows are locked, your kitchen, all the appliances are set off. You need to make sure that everything is wiped down. Yes, that's the most main thing. Now what happens is, in early childhood in New Zealand, you don't have people coming in to do basic cleaning on like the surface level. So you can expect people coming in to do the vacuuming, then to do the, say, mopping and stuff, or cleaning the bigger windows and stuff. But generally what happens is that with regard to the toys, the tables, the surfaces, you're absolutely cleaning everything. So I think towards 5 o'clock, actually, generally classrooms start preparing to tidy down stuff and clean stuff. And you're using special solutions, which is obviously depending on whatever the school policy is. So you start cleaning up, and it's all entirely done by teachers. And on some days it can get very exhausting if you had a very, very busy day, and then you are also having to clean, because you're also kind of, closing down on the day, and are expected to say bye to your children in the same jovial manner. And you're also setting up your room for the next day. So जो सुबह में टीचर आए उनके लिए बहुत स्ट्रेसफुल नहीं हो जाए। तो क्लोजिंग टीचर का जनरली ये काम होता है कि वो टेबल पे कुछ एक्टिविटी सेटअप करके ही जाती हैं, और वो पूरा क्लासरूम अच्छे से टाइडी करके एंड whatever is the expectation in terms of cleaning or closing the classroom, then getting all the laundry in the washing, things like that. And so you make sure everything is done, and yeah, you pretty much close the building, lock everything, check twice that everything is locked, and you kind of do the closing checklist that okay, I've checked. And yeah, everybody leaves after that, and yeah, you go home and take a nap. So that is what actually you need to do because it's so tiring. Yeah, ये पूरा दिन ऐसे ही जाता है टीचर्स का अर्ली चाइल्डहुड में. इट्स वेरी वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट टू काइंड ऑफ गेट यूज टू दिस जब आपकी शुरुआत हो रही होती है, बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स यू आर लाइक कॉन्स्टेंटली ऑन द गो. बट एक बार आदत लग जाती है, देन यू बिकम यूज टू इट, एंड या इट बिकम्स ईजियर आई वुड से विथ टाइम. एंड yeah, this is what a day in the life of an early childhood teacher in NZ looks like. And I'll see you soon, probably with another video on something related to teaching or maybe something else. So yeah, see you next. Bye.